Hello Golden State Warriors fans, we are here once again to bring you the latest news related to our team, and I would like to emphasize how committed we are to improving our performance to achieve great results. Before we dive into this intriguing news, I kindly request you to show your support by clicking the like button, and if you are not yet subscribed to our channel, I invite you all to join us on an exciting journey. Remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Pacers vs Thunder, the first Game 7 in the NBA Finals since Warriors-Cavs, and it's a legacy-defining showdown. Some games don't just crown champions, they carve legacies into stone. And here we are. Game 7. Everything on the line. Two franchises standing at the edge of greatness or heartbreak, just 48 minutes away from either eternal glory or a summer filled with haunting what-ifs. The Oklahoma City Thunder arrive at this moment carrying a weight that feels heavier than Chet Holmgren's frame, and twice as unforgiving. They've been the NBA's golden child all season long. A historic point differential. A team built not just to win now, but to rule tomorrow. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just pulled off one of the rarest feats in basketball history. MVP, scoring champion, finals appearance. A club so exclusive that only Jordan, Shaq, and Kareem have the keys. This was supposed to be their coronation. But destiny doesn't always follow the script. The Indiana Pacers, meanwhile, have spent the postseason rewriting the rules of basketball physics. They've pulled off historic comebacks in all 4 rounds, beating odds so absurd they border on 1 in 4 billion. Tyrese Halliburton drains buzzer beaters with the same ease he orders a morning coffee. Off the bench, TJ McConnell brings chaotic energy that turns hostile arenas into his personal playground. For OKC, this is about more than chasing the franchise's first title since leaving Seattle. It's about validating one of the most dominant regular seasons the NBA has ever seen. Lose here, and they join the painful club of greatest teams never to win it all, a label that sticks like bad sushi and lingers for decades. Believe me, I know. I lived through 2016. Warriors fan. 73 wins. And then. But we'll get back to that. For Indiana, they're just 48 minutes from completing arguably the most shocking championship run in league history. No 4th seed has won it all since the '95 Rockets. And yet, here they are, the perfect embodiment of the underdog spirit, crashing every fairy tale along the way. This is a generational war. Shai, trying to launch OKC's dynasty the way Steph did a decade ago. Halliburton, chasing a postseason run so unlikely, it feels like basketball fiction. It's small-market Oklahoma City, a fanbase that's waited 17 long years, versus a Pacers team that's made a habit out of ruining everyone else's happy ending. 9 years ago, LeBron and the Cavs walked into Oracle Arena and did the impossible. Came back from a 3-1 deficit and ended Golden State's historic 73-win season in heartbreak. Game 7 ended 93-89, a defensive slugfest where neither team could buy a bucket, and the basketball gods finally decided Cleveland had waited long enough. I remember watching that 4th quarter again months later, a few beers in, finally able to appreciate the poetry of it all. The Warriors died the only way they knew how, launching wild threes with desperate grace, Steph darting around screens for inches of space, Klay rising up from deep like a man possessed. It was chaotic, beautiful, and in the end, tragic. Cleveland played chess. Golden State played jazz. Chess won. And here's the wildest part. That night was supposed to be the end of the Warriors' story, the passing of the torch. Instead, it was just the intermission. They added Kevin Durant, won 2 more titles, and spent the next 5 years redefining excellence. Now, nearly a decade later, we return to Game 7 of the Finals. Everything is different. The Thunder and Pacers are the new era. Shai, stepping into the spotlight like Steph did in 2015. Halliburton, channeling that same fearless magic that once made Golden State the most electric show on hardwood. One of these teams will walk off the court as champions, having completed their destiny. The other will spend the offseason replaying every missed shot, every bad switch, every moment they let immortality slip through their fingers, just like the 2016 Warriors. Game 7. No more theories. No more predictions. Just one last battle to decide everything. And as tip-off approaches, the basketball world holds its breath. Tickets for Game 7 sold out in minutes. Secondary market prices have skyrocketed, nosebleeds going for over $1,000, courtside nearing Super Bowl territory. ESPN, TNT, and international outlets have shifted coverage to full-throttle mode. The NBA's global audience, from Oklahoma to Osaka, from Indiana to Istanbul, is locked in. This isn't just a game. It's a global event. Former players have weighed in. Dwayne Wade called it the most unpredictable finals matchup in a decade. Shaq, never one to hold back, said, "If Shai wins this, he's officially him." Reggie Miller, a Pacers legend, is in attendance tonight, saying, "This run has the same crazy energy we had in 2000, but this team has gone even further. They've shocked the world." And the numbers? They're just as wild as the narratives. Tyrese Haliburton is averaging 27.3 points and 11.2 assists per game in these finals, third highest finals assist average since Magic Johnson. He's shooting 49% from three. And yet, every night, he still plays like the kid who got overlooked in every draft night conversation. Shai, on the other hand, is putting up a quiet storm, 31.6 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists per game on jaw-dropping efficiency, 54% from the field, 91% from the line. But he's not doing it alone. Jalen Williams has blossomed into a full-blown star. Chet Holmgren, in his rookie campaign, has become a defensive anchor in the paint, swatting shots and altering game plans. And then there's the chaos factor, Indiana's bench. TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, Ben Shepherd, guys who weren't even in the scouting reports in October, are now tilting the floor with hustle, heart, and fearless shot-taking. Rick Carlisle, a championship coach himself, has coached this team with nothing to lose, and that might just be their greatest weapon. Off the court, the moment is just as massive. For the NBA, this is a dream scenario. 2 fresh faces, young rosters, passionate markets, and no legacy super teams, just raw, authentic basketball drama. TV ratings for Game 6 reached a 5-year high, and Game 7 is projected to break streaming records on NBA League Pass and ESPN Plus worldwide. And the pressure? It's not just on the players. This game could shape front office futures, cement Hall of Fame cases, influence free agency decisions, set new standards for how teams are built. If OKC wins, the rebuild they started with that Paul George trade becomes one of the most successful in league history. If Indiana pulls this off, they become a model for mid-market teams daring to dream big without tanking. So what's left? One game. 48 minutes. History to be written. Will Shai become the face of a new dynasty and bring a title back to OKC for the first time ever? Or will Haliburton complete one of the most improbable championship runs since 2004's Pistons? And maybe even more unlikely, by midnight, one of these teams will hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy. Confetti will fall. Tears will too. And somewhere, a new chapter in NBA mythology will begin. One that fans will still be talking about a decade from now, maybe longer. Whatever happens, we'll remember this night. Because legacies aren't given. They're earned, under the brightest lights. What Jonathan Kuminga could bring to the Chicago Bulls, and the trade domino that's holding everything back. The Chicago Bulls haven't given up on Jonathan Kuminga. After showing strong interest in him back at the 2024 trade deadline, they're circling back in 2025, and this time, the fit might be better than ever. Kaminga is one of the most intriguing young players on the Golden State Warriors roster. With elite athleticism and raw scoring talent, he has all the tools to become a star in the right system. But there's one problem. Steve Kerr's system may not be the right one. Kerr has never fully committed to Kaminga, and the 22-year-old forward knows it. Add in the arrival of Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green's continuing presence, and Kaminga suddenly finds himself buried behind 2 veterans, both in minutes and in opportunity. He wants a bigger role. He wants to start. And that simply isn't happening in Golden State right now. That's where Chicago comes in. The Bulls have been tracking Kaminga for over a year, and it's easy to see why. He's a high-upside wing with explosive scoring ability, defensive potential, and flashes of shot-making that hint at something special. They nearly landed him in a deal involving Alex Caruso, a move that felt imminent before Caruso was ultimately dealt to Oklahoma City instead. The Bulls see untapped potential, and a perfect pairing with Giddey. Kaminga's fit in Chicago makes a lot of sense. He's a powerful, transition-ready wing who thrives in space, something the Bulls can offer, especially now that they've added Josh Giddey in the Caruso trade. Giddey's playmaking and feel for the game pair beautifully with Kaminga's athleticism and slashing. This isn't just a flyer. This could be a foundation for the next version of the Bulls. Golden State, however, knows they can't just give Kaminga away. Despite his inconsistency, he's coming off a promising postseason run, averaging 15.3 points on 48.4% shooting and hitting 40% from 3 over 8 playoff games. That kind of production from a 22-year-old on a crowded roster isn't just impressive, It's a glimpse into what he could be if unleashed. Kuminga is still scratching the surface. But it won't happen while he's stuck behind future Hall of Famers in Golden State. In Chicago, he wouldn't just get minutes, he'd get room to grow, to make mistakes, and to become a centerpiece. So what's the holdup? It's not that the Bulls don't want Kuminga. It's not even that the Warriors are unwilling to deal him. It's that the entire trade market is frozen, waiting on one move. Kevin Durant. With several teams, including the Bulls, watching what happens with KD, front offices are holding their fire. Everyone's waiting for the first domino to fall. The Desmond Bane deal was an outlier, but most contenders and retooling teams are bracing for the Durant effect. Once he's moved, it could unlock a cascade of trades, including Kaminga. Golden State knows this. They don't want to rush into a deal with Chicago or Miami just because those are the only offers on the table right now. They're waiting, hoping that once the Durant saga resolves, more teams jump in with better packages. The Warriors want leverage. The Bulls want Kaminga. And the entire NBA is watching the clock. What comes next? If the Bulls want to make a serious play, a sign and trade might be their only path forward. But they'll need to act fast. Once the market opens up post-Durant, competition will rise fast. Miami could re-enter the picture. So could teams like Brooklyn, Toronto, or even San Antonio. The Warriors are playing this smart. They're patient. They know what they have in Kaminga. But they also know they can't waste his value by sitting him behind veterans another year. At some point, a decision will have to be made. Is Kaminga part of Golden State's future, or someone else's present? For Chicago, the answer is clear. They believe in his ceiling. They believe in his fit. And once the right domino falls, they're ready to make their move. The league is watching, and waiting. Front offices around the NBA are keeping a close eye on the Kaminga situation, knowing full well he could become one of the most impactful young pieces available this offseason. He's only 22, on a rookie deal, and has flashed two-way upside that scouts and executives covet. But as long as the Kevin Durant situation remains unresolved, the Warriors are in no rush. They're playing the long game. League insiders say Golden State has received preliminary interest from as many as 6 teams, including the Bulls, Heat, Raptors, and Nets, all of whom see Kaminga as a potential breakout star. Several Western Conference teams are also interested, but the Warriors are wary of strengthening a direct rival. Meanwhile, Golden State's internal timeline is shifting. With Klay Thompson likely walking in free agency and Draymond Green entering the twilight of his career, there's real pressure to retool, not rebuild, around Steph Curry. That makes Kaminga's situation more complicated. He's young and talented, but can he contribute consistently enough to win now? Sources close to the team suggest that owner Joe Lacob is pushing for maximum value in any deal involving Kaminga, and won't sign off unless the return includes either a high-level rotational player or a pick that could be flipped quickly in a larger package. In other words, they're not giving him up for anything less than a real asset. For Chicago, this could be a turning point. The Bulls are quietly undergoing a rebrand. With DeMar DeRozan's future uncertain and Zach LaVine's name constantly swirling in trade rumors, Chicago is looking to shift into a new identity, one built on youth, versatility, and upside. Josh Giddey was the first domino. Jonathan Kuminga could be the second. Head coach Billy Donovan is reportedly high on Kuminga's potential and believes the team's system could unlock the forward's aggressiveness in transition and his developing outside shot. Paired with Giddey, Kobe White, and Patrick Williams, the Bulls could finally build a young core with real direction. Fans are excited too. Bulls Twitter has been buzzing with mock trades and Kuminga highlights, while Chicago media outlets have framed him as the missing piece to a long-overdue youth movement. But it won't come cheap. Golden State may require a combination of picks and players, possibly including Patrick Williams or Dallin Terry, or a future protected first-rounder. The Bulls must also navigate the complex math of a sign-and-trade scenario, depending on what kind of money Kaminga could command if he continues his rise. Durant's decision, the market trigger everyone's waiting on. Around the league, there's growing belief that once Kevin Durant is finally moved, likely to the Miami Heat, according to the latest buzz, the rest of the trade market will burst wide open. Teams have been holding onto their assets, waiting to see who gets KD and what's left in his wake. That domino could trigger several other moves, including a reshuffling in the East, as teams like Boston and Milwaukee try to keep pace with a supercharged Heat squad. Secondary deals involving veterans like Brandon Ingram, OG Anunoby, or Tyus Jones. And most notably, renewed offers for players like Kaminga, who could slide into a bigger role on a rising team. For now, the Warriors are content to wait. But the moment Durant is traded, the phones will ring, and the offers for Kuminga will start to get real. Final word. Jonathan Kaminga is not just another young talent. He's a bet on upside. On growth. On what could be, not just what is. And for a team like the Chicago Bulls, who've spent years drifting between mediocrity and identity crises, he represents something bigger, a new beginning. Whether that move happens tomorrow or 3 weeks from now depends on how fast the dominoes fall. But one thing is clear, the Bulls aren't just interested anymore. They're ready. Warriors' trade dream could be slipping away if Magic rumors are true. Orlando reportedly made a strong offer before the Desmond Bane deal. Golden State's hopes of landing a high-impact guard this offseason might already be on shaky ground, especially if the buzz around the Orlando Magic and Coby White turns out to be true. Coby White quickly emerged as a top potential trade target for the Warriors, addressing several of their most pressing needs: shooting, shot creation, and playmaking. With Chicago reportedly showing strong interest in 22-year-old forward Jonathan Kuminga, a swap could make perfect sense on paper. But here's the twist: even if the Warriors and Bulls are aligned on player value, the bigger question is whether the price to get a deal done makes sense, especially when it comes to White, who's entering the final year of a team-friendly $12.9 million contract and is due for a big raise soon after. Orlando may have already upped the ante. The market for White may already be heating up, fast. According to multiple reports, the Magic were seriously in the mix before finalizing their blockbuster deal for Desmond Bane last week. Per the Locked on Bulls podcast, Orlando offered Chicago a major package: Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac, and 2 future first-round picks in exchange for the 25-year-old guard. It's unclear whether the Bulls turned down the offer or if the Magic simply shifted their focus once the Bane opportunity materialized. Either way, it's a clear sign: if White becomes truly available, it's going to take a real offer to get him. This could complicate Golden State's plans. If Chicago is setting the bar that high, multiple picks and quality rotation players, the Warriors might have to look deeper into their asset pool. Orlando, a team already stacked with young stars like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, appears willing to sacrifice future assets for immediate upgrades. Golden State, on the other hand, sits in a much different timeline, with a veteran core and uncertain outlook beyond the next few seasons. What can Golden State realistically offer? The Warriors could counter with a package including Moses Moody, arguably comparable to Cole Anthony in terms of potential, and 2 future first-rounders. But is that a price they're truly willing to pay? Especially considering that White could command upwards of $25 million annually on his next deal. It's a high-stakes calculation. On one hand, acquiring White could inject much-needed life into Golden State's aging roster, giving them a dynamic backcourt partner for Steph Curry and a long-term building block. On the other hand, giving up Moody and multiple picks for a player they'll have to re-sign at a premium might be too rich for a team already walking the luxury tax tightrope. The dilemma. There's no doubt that White fits the Warriors' system and timeline better than most available players. He's young, improving, and brings exactly the skill set they've been lacking since Jordan Poole's departure. But if Orlando has already set a high market price, and if Chicago is in no rush to make a move, Golden State will have to decide quickly how far they're willing to go. Is Moody plus picks the Magic combo? Could Kuminga still be in play? And at what point does the cost outweigh the reward? With the draft just around the corner and the trade market heating up, the Warriors' front office may be forced into making a bold call: swing big now, or risk watching another opportunity pass them by. Pressure mounting on the Warriors' front office. For Golden State, the rising value of Coby White is both an opportunity and a warning. The fact that Orlando, a team with plenty of young assets and long-term flexibility, was willing to put together a sizable offer underscores just how competitive this market could become. And with the Bulls juggling multiple priorities, including the future of restricted free agent Josh Giddey, the window for landing White may be narrow and fast-moving. Sources around the league believe Chicago is seriously weighing its options. While White was one of the few bright spots in an otherwise underwhelming Bulls season, a strong offer could tempt the front office into selling high, especially if they believe Giddey is their long-term answer at point guard. The rumored deal with Orlando suggests they're at least listening. What this means for Kuminga's future. The situation also places Jonathan Kuminga's future with the Warriors under the spotlight. After a breakout season where he averaged 16.1 points per game and showed flashes of becoming a two-way star, Kuminga's trade value has never been higher. But internally, the Warriors are reportedly split,
Some see him as a future franchise pillar, while others believe his peak might be best realized elsewhere, especially if he can bring back a more proven guard like White. Golden State would prefer to keep Kuminga if possible, which is why exploring alternatives like Moses Moody and draft picks becomes crucial. But if Chicago insists on Kaminga as the centerpiece, and Orlando or another team ups the ante, the Warriors may be forced to make a tough call. The ripple effects across the league. This saga isn't unfolding in a vacuum. Multiple teams, including the Brooklyn Nets, San Antonio Spurs, and even the Toronto Raptors, are monitoring Coby White's situation closely, according to league insiders. All are believed to be interested in adding backcourt talent, and all have the flexibility to make aggressive offers. The Magic's willingness to offer multiple picks sets a precedent that could drive up White's value even further. If more teams get involved, the cost for Golden State could go from uncomfortable to untenable. At that point, the Warriors may be left choosing between giving up too much or walking away entirely. And walking away might not be an option for long. The Warriors are under immense pressure to retool on the fly while Curry is still playing at an elite level. With Klay Thompson's future uncertain, Chris Paul unlikely to return, and Draymond Green aging, the franchise needs an injection of youth and skill right now. White fits that bill, but only if the price is right. Clock is ticking. As the 2025 NBA draft approaches and trade talks intensify, Golden State's front office must decide, do they stay patient and risk losing White to a more aggressive suitor, or do they push their chips in now, knowing their championship window is rapidly closing? Either way, the coming days could define the next 5 years of Warriors basketball. And if Orlando's early offer is any indication, the road to Coby White just got a whole lot more crowded, and a whole lot more expensive.